What up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Eazy here with Lions Nation Unite, here to preview the Detroit Lions versus Washington Commanders prime time today for who goes to the NFC Conference Championship game. This game is at home, of course, starting at 8:30. I believe that's a Fox stream. Tom Brady will be on the call, which is interesting because Tom Brady is also in pursuit of Ben Johnson as his next head coach. Rumors are he's enamored. Rumors are they're willing to give up lots of dough to have Ben Johnson join them with the Raiders. That's another conversation for another day, though, because we are talking about the Detroit Lions versus the Washington Commanders. Guys, this matchup, it's probably the first time I've been meeting this all week. I've had partners with me, usually co-hosts with me, and I usually try to ease them into saying this. This time by myself, I gotta admit it. This may be a closer game than Detroit Lions fans are thinking. I don't know that the spread that currently sits at 9.5, opened up at 8.5. I don't know that it necessarily gets fulfilled. I don't necessarily think it's far off either. I got probably like a 7-point game, via Detroit Lions. But the Washington Commanders, Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels, they've been a lethal combination. It's probably the bright spot, the two bright spots in that offense. Anybody in the right minds, not right minds, but any casual viewer would probably struggle to name a few more of those Washington Commanders offense. But obviously, they got Austin Eckler in that backfield. They run a lot of play action with him, a lot of pass plays with him as a running back. Everyone should know who Austin Eckler is by now. They got Brian Robinson, who I think is a tank when it comes to red zone play. But in the last in the last 5 games, we only have one rushing touchdown. It's like it's not like the offensive line's helping them out either way. It's really just been Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is like, this guy's becoming a legend lately, even dragging him to this playoff game, win a playoff game last week. But we are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I understand the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat us. That may give some people cause for pause. But you go look at that game. The Detroit Lions out-gained the Tampa Bay Buccaneers like 490-something yards to just barely over 200. The interceptions, the turnovers are down before the half. We didn't get that field goal off. Killed us. The interception that Jared Goff had to begin the game killed us. Like, turnovers are what's most important. And I think that the Washington Commanders, they're pretty efficient. Like that. I think beyond the touchdowns, beyond scrambling, I think that's just the most impressive thing I've seen or noticed out of Jaden Daniels, the fact he doesn't turn that ball over. And he's still able to get off big plays to Terry McLaurin. And I just think against this secondary and what it's looked like as of recently, I know the Vikings game happened. They may have those opportunities to make those big plays, and they may be able to put points up on the board. But where you can ease your mind as a Detroit Lions fan is we're putting up points at an all-time pace. All time. The fourth highest scoring offense in the history of the NFL belongs to your 2024 Detroit Lions. And that's just what the rookie, the rookie is up against, and I just don't know that he'll be able to do it. I want to say this game's probably like something like 30-24. You want to talk about their defense over there? Can they slow us down? No, I'm not going to lie to you. I think they do have their defense the defensive line, I should say, should get a little bit more credit than they get. They have Deron Payne on there, who I think is phenomenal. They have Jerzon Newton coming out of Illinois. That was supposed to be a really good player for them. I know a lot of people, Detroit Lions fans community, kind of wanted him at the defensive tackle spot. We ended up getting DJ Reader. They have some names on the defensive line, but John Allen is the other one too. Big body John Allen. It's a giant dude. I think we still just capitalize on that. I think that may help them if it gets into like a true shootout, and they could probably get out to Jared Goff there, a little 4-man rush, 5-man rush. I mean, don't forget Dan Quinn is one of the best defensive play callers in the history of the NFL. If you guys remember, the Dallas Cowboys had a little bit of a dominant defense there for a while. That was under Dan Quinn. Before then, he was with the Falcons as the head coach. That defense, Deion Jones, those guys way outperformed what they were doing. Before that, he was defensive coordinator for the Legion of Boom. But I don't think he has the Joes to get it done today. I really don't, unless you force the hand and it being a shootout. But even then, I didn't see it get to that point because what we have in the run game, the return of David Montgomery. and Jahmyr Gibbs, who some are already considering a top 5 running back in the NFL. That's me. I'm one of those guys. I just think when you look at the nucleus of that defensive line, and this is like nucleus of the defense, and Bobby Wagner too, but I'm not really worried about Bobby Wagner. Either way, I think you look at the interior of that defensive line. And so, yeah, they may stop a lot of our duo rushes, a lot of the stuff that we want to go up the middle with. But where Jahmyr Gibbs is most dangerous, I think everybody knows this by now, is bumping out to the outside. And that's where you're not going to get in contact with Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, or Johnny Newton. You're not going to have to deal with those guys, right? You bump it out, he's gone, 70 yards. However many yards it takes to get to the end zone, Jahmyr Gibbs is getting there. So I'm not as concerned about those big guys in the middle. Bobby Wagner, can he be a problem in the run game? Yeah, I believe so. He cashed in another All-Pro this season. Bobby Wagner did. They have Frankie Louvu as well from the Carolina Panthers. But, we got this guy named Penei Sewell. I don't know if you guys heard of him at all. We got this guy. It's kind of crazy we talk about a rookie this way, and it's only his second start, but I do think he's that good. Christian Mahogany. I think he's good enough to get his hands on a Frankie Louvu. Bobby Wagner probably may know a few veteran tricks of the trade to avert him. At the end of the day, though, we just got more horses because beyond that, you establish that run. You run the ball enough to be a threat. And then you have the best play action pass quarterback in the National Football League in Jared Goff. And not only do you have him combined with Jameson Williams, who's been phenomenal. First 1,000-yard season, despite him missing 2 games due to suspension. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, another top 5 season, another all-pro season. You have Sam Laporta, who's been coming on as of late. Like, I think quietly, too. Not enough people are talking about it. Sam Laporta's been doing the damn thing again. He really has. And beyond that, too, don't forget the moments that Tim Patrick's given you this year. The 2 touchdowns versus Green Bay, the Space Jam reach touchdown he had, against the Buffalo Bills. Like, Tim Patrick's a guy. And you have Jared Goff in control of it all, too. And Jared Goff in this offense for the 3rd consecutive year. I think maybe Matthew Stafford would be the only guy matched up with a play caller that long consecutively. And it's dangerous because long ago, once upon a time, the blitz and getting Jared Goff off script, that would be his downfall. But once you've been in the system as long as Jared Goff has, it's not. You could get a blitzer in his face, even a rusher in his face. A blitzer's even worse because that means somebody's open, right? So if you're blitzing Frankie Louvu and he gets there, then Jared Goff knows, oh, well, Frankie was supposed to be in the zone covering, Sam Laporta, there he is, bam, ball out of there. Mikey Sandstro plays inside, plays outside, bump on the inside, blitz him the way we do Brian Branch, right? Oh, he's supposed to be covering St. Brown, bam, right there. You can't blitz Jared Goff anymore. The only way, the best way, and this is why I said if it gets to like a true shootout, is they have a little bit more of a chance, a 4-man rush. And the reason why the 4-man rush hurts is because if that guy busts through in a 1-on-1 matchup or 5-man rush, there's not an empty guy who's supposed to be covering one of your deadly weapons in the Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, so on and so forth, right? So the 4-man rush would probably be the most deadly way to get to him. Speaking of that, one of the best offensive lines, by the way, too. So not a huge concern of mine. I think it could happen. Not a huge concern of mine. On the opposite side of things, did you know since week 11, the Detroit Lions lead the league in 4-man quarterback pressures? Like when you're rushing 4 or less, Detroit Lions lead the league. I thought that was an interesting stat that came out from Nate Tice this week, previewing the matchup I saw on Twitter. And I there's some context to it, right? Because you're like, no way. We watch this team every week. There's no way that's true. Context is you played the Chicago Bears twice. I think everyone's very aware. Caleb Williams been sacked like 50-plus times. That offensive line has been horrendous. I think that heavily boosts your numbers when you talk about 4-man rushes. You also the game that we had against Sam Darnold, another game in there against Jacksonville. Obviously, the Week 18 game against Sam Darnold, the Detroit Lions were all over him like white on rice. And you saw that the LA Rams mimic that same play style too, successfully, right? I think that makes sense as to why we lead the league in 4 or less quarterback pressures since week 11. It's a mind-blowing stat. However, Jaden Daniels is going to get his. He's going to have his moments. He's a very, very good young player. But I think there's a reason why the Detroit Lions are so picky with their defensive ends, right? We had a kid with tremendous talent, a kid that looked to be something special in James Houston. He had like an 8+ sack season his first year when he touched the field. And from then on, everyone's just kind of scratching their heads. I know there's an injury between their two, but like, why hasn't he been the same type of edge rusher that we saw? Why aren't they giving him the same opportunities? The Detroit Lions like their edge rushers, their defensive ends, like they like heavyweights. They like Moto, Brad Holmes and the boys, Aaron Glenn and the boys. They like them big. And I think the reason is he's not traditional pass rush, but they just suffocate in the pocket and also fill in those rush lanes with those bigger body guys. Go look who they signed in the free agency, Marcus Davenport. Look who they drafted a couple years before, Josh Pascal, right? These are defensive ends that can moonlight as defensive tackles. I think they like to slowly suffocate that pocket and avoid and fill in those rush lanes. And I think that's going to help the Detroit Lions versus Jaden Daniels. On top of that, too, if he wants to take the outside in that situation, that's fine. We have the return of Alex Anzalone, and I think that's going to be a huge, huge, huge plus for the Detroit Lions on that one. Alex Anzalone not only has a great defensive mind when it comes to just identifying what's going on the opposite side of the ball, but he's also fairly athletic. Like, he doesn't get enough credit for how well that he can move. And I think he's going to be the X factor between two people on defense, actually, the X factors. Alex Anzalone, identifying when the young quarterback wants to go for a scramble a little bit, but also be in the flats and the coverage as well. I think Alex Anzalone is one of the better coverage linebackers in the National Football League. And then you also have Brian Branch, who is essentially kind of like a more athletic Alex Anzalone, but he's back there at safety, back there at nickel. And the reason why you see him back at nickel after he moved to safety this year is because you want your best players in the field. Fontu Milifon was pretty damn good at blitzing quarterbacks. But I just don't know if you want to blitz this quarterback with your defensive backs because he ranks number one in the league. Jaden Daniels, tied with Patrick Mahomes for EPA per draft back when blitzed by defensive backs. So that's why I'm pointing more towards only being like your ace. Let that be your blitzer. Save these cornerbacks because I just don't want to get blasted or caught sleeping by Terry McLaurin because he's good and he'll do it. It'll happen today, at least once. I know Meek did a phenomenal job against Justin Jefferson. I think the little bit of history they had there helped them along with that. I mean, Meek's been guarding Justin Jefferson since they were in high school, and I just think that he knows a little bit of his, maybe a little bit of tells, right? You have that long of a time studying a guy in your matchups, and then Meek's very studious. Then you're going to know his tells and everything else around that. That's not the scenario with Terry McLaurin. We also don't know if Terry McLaurin will be matched up against Meek. Terrion Arnold is back. That's huge for us. I guess this is kind of the way I'm thinking the game's going to go, guys. Detroit Lions, 30 points. A race to 30, we call this one again. And, yeah, I'll give these Washington Commanders, the feisty Commanders, 21-24. I'm not comfortable being this comfortable with the Detroit Lions winning, but I just don't see a way the Commanders topple the Detroit Lions unless we just absolutely shoot ourselves in the foot or come out slow and lethargic. That was one concern of mine, just because going back to that 10-day layoff we had against the Bills, and we kind of woke up and came out slow on that one. But then we had the bye week before the Cowboys, and we all know what happened in that game. I mean, that was ugly. And that was before the Cowboys got as dinged up as they were now. They had every single one of their offensive starters. But, yeah. Also, don't forget, guys, I've been meaning to mention this as well. LNU going live tonight for the game, and they're giving away autographed Herman Moore mini helmets every single quarter, as long as you guys share the live stream promotion on Twitter and X. There are a bunch of other ways of entry for the helmet too. They'll give you the details as they are live. Make sure you're watching the LNU Detroit Lions versus Washington Commanders live stream tonight to win yourself an autographed Herman Moore helmet. The live stream will have giveaways every quarter. There'll be apparel prizes, Herman Moore autographs, autographed footballs. Make sure you guys are watching tonight's live stream during the Detroit Lions game. Just cut the announcers off. Put on Herman, put on King, put on Chrissy, put on the boys, the Chicken Nugget King, whoever else is joining, and win yourself a few autographed pieces of merch. How about that? I am Eazy of the Woodward Heavyweights here with Lions Nation Unite. Make sure you guys give me a follow at Speakeasy Sports _. Make sure you follow Lions Nation Unite. There's always tons of giveaways going on. Autograph stuff from the legendary Herman Moore, who should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way. We have to start that campaign and pound that into people's heads. That makes no sense. Multiple All-Pros, record-breaking seasons, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. That makes zero sense. We got to fix that, NFL. But for Lions Nation Unite, boy, Eazy, we're Heavyweights. I'm out.